Hey, what up, everybody? I'm gonna keep this one short. One thing I hadn't really considered or kept track of when I was doing these lives is my data. So I used up most of it already. So I'll be doing these either every week, a little bit shorter than before, or every other week. Or maybe I'll look into changing my plan. But I just wanted to speak my mind on something political in nature, and it has to do with the economy and Biden's Build Back Better agenda. And look, regardless of whatever you feel about that, I think we really need to just at least demand honesty out of our representatives, out of our politicians. Joe Manchin said that he was going to work together with Biden to figure that out, and then he turns around and says that the reason he can't do it is because the people of West Virginia don't support it, which is not true. Every poll shows, because West Virginia is one of the poorest states in the country, and every poll shows that the citizens of West Virginia, even a majority of Republicans, support Build Back Better. And especially when you go issue for issue of what's in that bill, okay? This isn't woke politics or whatever, man. This is about prescription drug prices and stuff like that. And politics, just like everything, is all about the money, all right? So Biden's excuse number one is a straight up lie. He said people in West Virginia don't support it. That's a lie. Number two, he says that he's worried about the national debt and the deficit spending. Well, look, you weren't that worried about it when you voted for the military budget. You weren't that worried about it when you voted for the infrastructure package. So that's also just an excuse and a lie. And at this time, I mean, to get regular people through giving tax credits, lowering the price of prescription drug prices and things like the deficit or the debt, that's not going to add to inflation. That's going to help people get through inflation, right? So the dude is a straight up liar. And if you look at him and his family and where they get their money from, you'll understand the real reason why he doesn't support this and why he lied when he said that he was going to vote for it and then didn't. And the whole thing from the start has been very just disingenuous. The mainstream media, they always talk about, whenever they talk about the Build Back Better agenda, they always talk about the overall price tag, but when they talk about military budget spending or anything like that, they talk about it on an annual basis. So it sounds like the Build Back Better agenda is way more expensive than it actually is. And I just don't understand why. Sorry, there's an ambulance. I just don't understand why, when it comes to public spending. I mean, I pay taxes, you pay taxes. Why can't we get, as citizens, a little bit back for that? I don't think that's too much to ask. I'd much rather have my tax money go toward, eliminating or at least lessening the burden of child poverty. And again, West Virginia is one of the poorest states in the United States of America. I'd much rather have my tax money go toward that than bombing brown people in Yemen or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like, we fund Israel's Iron Dome defense missile system. We gave extra funding for that this year. I'm sorry, but when are the American people going to get something back for their tax money that they pay? I mean, I live here in South Korea, and we have nice things. We have good public transportation. We have healthcare. The roads are not shit like they are in America. Excuse my language. But you can clearly see that citizens pay taxes and they get something in return for it. And by the way, South Korea has a pretty strong military as well. And yes, the United States plays a big part in that, but it's a mutual relationship. So it's not like it's all the United States just giving and South Korea taking. Look, man, all I'm saying is, and you might be able to tell a little bit about, how I lean politically by this rant, but all I'm saying is I just want the politicians to be honest. That's it. That's it. And you know what? I think it's also time for us as citizens to stop with the division, okay? Because, look, yes, I tend to lean a little bit more left on my politics, but I get along with all kinds of conservatives. One of my best friends who I met through this whole YouTube stacking thing is Silver Conundrum, and he's a big-time conservative. And you know what? He and I get along. We don't agree on everything, but we respect one another. We listen to one another. We learn from one another. He has his perspectives. I have my perspectives. And some of the stuff we agree on, and some of the stuff we disagree on. But I don't care about individual politicians. I don't care about towing any party line. I'm not a Democrat or a Republican or a liberal or conservative. I mean, if you got to put me into a box, like I said, I probably lean a little bit more left. And I think a lot of that just has to do with me living overseas and whatnot. But it depends on the issue, Like, I'm pro Second Amendment. And with that said, I'm not 100% for or against anything, So, me being pro Second Amendment, does that make me a conservative or a Republican? No, it doesn't. It makes me support the Second Amendment. I'm a free speech absolutist. I support the First Amendment. That makes me an American, I guess, I don't know, man. I'm just very, very disappointed in the fact that these people are being super dishonest about stuff. And you hear these terms like virtue signaling and disingenuous and bad faith and all this stuff. Joe Manchin was on TV saying, I've spent every moment of every day trying to negotiate in good faith. It's like, bro, you were filmed by activists getting onto your yacht. Were you working at that time when you were getting onto your yacht? No, I don't think so, man. All right, and love him or hate him, Greenpeace actually basically posed as like some lobbyist groups, and they were talking to some other actual DC lobbyists from the energy industry, and they were saying like, we want to get like some senators to support us, and these guys from the oil and gas industry were saying basically they own Christian Sinema and Joe Manchin. And look, if that's the way it's going to be, that's the way it's going to be. But you got to be honest about that. You either represent the people of your state and you make public policy for everybody in the United States, or you represent those companies. Just be real about it. That's all you got to do. And I think it's time for us as citizens to start looking into where these politicians are getting bankrolled from. You know what? I have Republican politicians who I support based on policy. It doesn't mean I support them carte blanche. I don't support the party without exception. On policy issues, I support them. I have Democrats who I support based on policy issues. I have independents who I support based on policy. The things that matter are policy and principles. What do you stand for? You have to be honest about that, or I can't respect you, right? And I was watching CNBC yesterday, and there's a guy on there, some billionaire, Kevin O'Leary. He's like, gridlock is good, and this is good for the economy. And like Anthony Scaramucci was on there, and he's like, this ain't good. This is good for us because we're already rich. But this isn't good for like the normal person. Gridlock is not good. And the government does not exist to serve Wall Street or billionaires, right? The government exists to execute the will of the people and do public policy, whether it's national defense or whatever it is, And I'm sorry, but the culture war BS about critical race theory and transgenderism and all this stuff. I don't care about that. Do you care about that? That doesn't help me to put food on the table for my kids. I don't think about that stuff when I wake up in the morning. If you want to be a girl when you're like a dude or whatever, that's on you. Do that. You know what I'm saying? I don't really care. And if they're going to teach critical race theory in some classroom, I don't care. I have enough love for my children, and they trust me and I trust them enough that if they learn something in school that we disagree with, I can say, hey, you know what? Those are just nothing but ideas. And you are going to form your own ideas. It's not poison, but these people are trying to divide us. This is about class. We're working class people, us stackers, almost all of us. And they're trying to divide us among race, among religion, among gender, among age, among anything we can, identify ourselves with. But guess what? The only thing you should take personally is a person. And I'm a person. And you're a person. And I'd rather focus on what we have in common and actually do something. Because gridlock is not good. That means nothing's getting done. And people are dying. Remember what happened in Texas? People freezing to death. And also in Texas, people in food lines. Is this America in 2020? This is insane. And it happens under Bush, Obama, Clinton, Trump, Biden. I don't care if you like those people or not. I'm sorry to burst your bubble, but they're all part of the same club and you ain't in it. In case any of you are familiar with George Carlin, he's the one who said that. And it's true. And you know why? Because the real division is among class. And we're working class people, middle class people, and it's time for us to put the bullshit division aside. Again, I'm sorry, excuse my language, but it's very frustrating. People get fed up, they get apathetic, they throw their hands up, well, there's nothing I can do about it. No, there is something you can do about it. Don't allow yourself to be tricked or divided. This is why I really wish that labor unions weren't so weak in the United States. Because if you and I are in a labor union and you're a Christian and I'm a Muslim and there's a gay dude over there and there's like a transgender over there or whatever, we're not really going to care about that when we sit down at the negotiating table to negotiate a higher wage and, more time off and, this kind of stuff. It's not just about money either, workplace rights. You guys, Amazon is one of the largest employers in the United States, and their drivers are defecating and urinating in plastic bags. They had to send out a memo to say, drivers, please don't leave your piss and shit inside of the delivery vehicles. That's insane, man. And the people in Kentucky who got hit with that tornado, Amazon wouldn't let them leave the warehouse. They say if you leave, you're fired. They're doing union busting down there in Alabama. This is insane. And meanwhile, Jeff Bezos is going to the moon on his rocket and I want to thank all the Amazon workers. Nah, bro. Nah, that's a slap in the face, to be honest with you. And my thoughts and prayers go. Nah, bro. No. Forget about that. Thoughts and prayers don't put food on the table. I'm sorry, But, so look, I'm sorry for ranting and letting off some steam, but I'm just telling you this. It's time to end the division. We need to find, conservatives, liberals, whatever you want to call it. We need to find, as Americans, I'm speaking to because I'm an American, so I'm sorry to all my international viewers, but this is happening in a lot of countries, actually. A lot of, Western liberal democracies. It's time to put the identity politics and the division aside for a moment. Okay, let's stop focusing on what makes us different and separate. Let's start focusing on what we can all agree on. The Patriot Act, for example. Do you think it's right that the government, because of 9/11, which happened, more than 20 years ago, that they're still able to spy on us and it's just infringe all over our Fourth Amendment rights, unreasonable search and seizure? I don't think that's right. And I know that a lot of my conservative brothers and sisters don't think that's right too, because they feel very strongly about individual liberty and the right to privacy and things like that. And, honestly, there's also a big dichotomy between the government and business. Like people say like, oh, the government is the problem, business is the answer. Look, man, they're both organizations, and people who get at the top and get the power, they get power hungry and they all act tyrannical. So it's about keeping the people who are in charge in check, whether they're the CEO of a company or, an elected member of the government. It doesn't matter. They're all structures, created by human power structures and systems. So it really doesn't matter, I mean, workplace democracy is something that you never hear about in the mainstream media. You know what I'm saying? You never hear about that. And is the corporate life or the workplace very democratic? I don't think it is. You can't leave during this tornado or you're fired. What the hell is that? That's insane. So I'm saying it's time for us to put all that, traditional division, where, we cannot agree on this and that. No, there's stuff we can agree on. Do you like freedom? I like freedom. So whether you're a conservative and I'm a liberal or whatever, let's start there. That's why Silver Conundrum and I are such good friends, because we formed our relationship around mutual things that we have in common and mutual interests. And I respect him as a man and he respects me as a man. And I know he's being honest with me and I'm being honest with him. And just like I am to everybody. And I give respect to people as well. And it's time that we start demanding the same thing out of our politicians. I'm not a dummy. You know what I'm saying? People have a tendency to equate wealth with intelligence, but look, yes, there's an element of being smart and intelligent to being a successful business person, but there's also an element of luck and timing and who you know and being in the right place at the right time. So just because you're rich doesn't mean you're smart. You know what I'm saying? Elon Musk might be the richest person in the world and he might be the Time Person of the Year, but that doesn't mean he's, qualified to talk about public policy issues. Sorry, he's not. He might be qualified to talk about rockets, reusable rockets and electric cars, but that don't mean he's qualified to talk about national defense or, voting districts or whatever you want to call it. You know what I'm saying? So look, let me just get back to the point one more time because I got to cut it off. I meant to talk about this for like 10 minutes, but I'm on a tear. So I'm just saying, I really want people to put the division aside. Stop talking shit. Stop trying to get a little dunk in here and there. Oh, let's go Brian, or, whatever they say about Trump or whatever. Dude, Trump did some stuff that I like. I don't particularly like the guy, but his policy toward North Korea is the best of any modern president. I have to give him credit on that. People give Joe Biden credit for raising the minimum wage for federal employees. Trump did that too. You know what I mean? So we got to be fair. When they do something good, like I said, it's policy and principle. If you agree with the policy and the principle, then you support it. It doesn't mean you have to support the person with blind allegiance and die with the party. But look, if we don't start thinking and talking and acting like individuals, rational people who can express ourselves and what we want, we're going to be constantly divided by this identity politics bullshit. All right. I'm very sorry for my filthy mouth in this. I think this may be the first time I've ever sworn, but it just really got me fired up listening to this idiot, Kevin O'Leary, talking about how gridlock in the U.S. government is a good thing. It might be a good thing for the stock market and for your bottom line, Kevin, but it ain't good for 99% of the American people. So what do you care about? Your bank account or us?